Is this painting garbage? About a month ago, I decided that I wanted to paint my sister floating in a bubble in the sky with birds surrounding her, like this frame from SpongeBob. Don't ask what my reasoning is, I have none. So, I prepped. I gessoed the surface I was going to paint on. I got the necessary reference photos I needed. I created the composite in Photoshop, and I began painting. I started with the same medium amount of confidence I have when I usually start an oil painting. I was going for a painting that vaguely looked like these in general style. Dreamy and soft and surreal. I was surprised that my first attempt at her face looked actually pretty accurate to how my sister actually looks. I love the idea of sculpting people out of paint, which I'm doing here. It's well worth the pain of the process. About 2 or so days later, I had something that looked like this, which I thought looked off. So I wiped off this version of the bubble and I started over on the entire background. And even in this state, I really like it. She looked a lot like a lone sticker, almost, and I thought it was cute. However, I wanted the bubble to look more visually unique, not just a circle. In the Squidward version, the bubble is slightly squiggly, so I wanted to make mine also slightly squiggly, or very squiggly was fine too. I was liking the way this was looking, and I kept putting in work to make it have a soft pink and yellow and blue iridescence that would separate the bubble from the sky. And I couldn't forget the birds, so I opted for 3 small doves instead of a bunch of seagulls because I wanted it to look soft and heavenly. And I eventually yielded this version. Different from the reference image, but I liked it. Like, I genuinely liked it. So I signed it. And then I showed my parents, who are usually the first people who get to see my new work. And I wish I could reenact the face they made when they saw it. I can't reenact it. I don't even, all I know is that the face that they made screamed, "What is this? This is garbage." Maybe not that far, but they didn't like it. It was a small blow to my ego, but it's okay because surely, I thought, my art friends would like my painting. And so a couple days later at our small group, I showed it to them. And they made the same exact faces. I went home that night about ready to just throw it out and completely cancel this video. This video was gonna look a lot different than I had initially planned. And so that brings me back to my initial question. Is this painting garbage? And I would say,
many months later.
oh, hello. There we go. Hello. It has taken 2 months to get around to making this video about this painting that was supposed to be a meme in the first place because I didn't know what to do with it. But I came to the realization 2 months later that making a painting that I feel pretty meh about is not actually a failure. It's actually a win, a pretty big win at that. After I felt bad about this version of the painting, I erased it yet again and began a new bubble. Blech. All these hours of effort for something I feel pretty lukewarm about, but none of this time or effort was wasted at all, in my opinion. Why is that? The point isn't for this painting to be necessarily objectively good, poignant, life-changing, society-changing, or relevant in any way. It's meant to be a bridge. I told myself and the people around me I wasn't gonna be so hard on my art, but this isn't necessarily me being hard on my art. I'm not calling it garbage because I think it's like objectively bad or anything. I think that I'm calling it garbage more so because of a couple of things. Because I was slightly disappointed in it technically. I mean, it was okay technically, but I could rip it to shreds. Hold on for that. But also because I let outside influence alter this painting too much so that it came to a point where I don't like it anymore. If you are making art that after putting hours of effort into, you feel mildly disappointed in, it is a good thing because you are being proactive in sharpening your technical skills, compositional skills, color, lighting, all the things. To see that you did something that you didn't like, it equips you with the knowledge to make something that you do like. Be encouraged by the disappointing artwork. Let it be a guide to show you how to get better. And if art is more of a hobby for you, you are dedicating your time to something that is productive. And it doesn't need to look perfect or appease anyone. It can make your heart happy and it can be a stress reliever, and that's all it has to be. It doesn't need to be more than that. Making art that is perceived as bad, even if you're the one perceiving it as bad, or if other people are perceiving it as bad, that's actually an awesome thing to do. Because guess what? You're actually making art. What a beautiful thing to actually make art and create, especially in these times. To use your hands and your heart and your brain, your organic human brain, to make something. It really is a privilege to create. And it's okay if it's a bad thing. Well, maybe not bad, but I guess it depends on what your definition of bad is, but technically bad or kind of just like meh art. Now, of course, as I do with a lot of my artwork and how I've increased in my technical skills over the years, has been being excessively brutal about my own artwork. And I can rip this painting to shreds. So we have version 1 before I ruined it and made it become version 2. Version 1 is clearly the better one, to me at least. And now that I'm looking at them both 2 months later, I can say that I deeply regret ruining version 1. It just had so much more character and all the elements of it looked much more cohesive and satisfying to my brain. Okay, I gave her a literal pencil neck. She looks unnaturally alert, but it's fine, I guess. Her flesh looked more soft, like the old Baroque and Rococo style of flesh I was going for. I really liked how the pinks and yellows showed up in the iridescence effect, separating the bubble from the sky. And of course, I loved the squiggly shape of the bubble. The clouds looked better because they're far less contrasted, giving the sky a softness and allowing the bubble to be the focal point rather than the clouds. This soft sky effect also allowed the doves to be more clearly visible. Next for version 2. I made her eyes comically large and removed the pinks from her face so she looks mildly dead now. However, I did fix her pencil neck at least. The shadows in her body are too dark, the clouds are now higher contrast, and the sky is too blue for my liking, whereas the first one's colors were far more unified and warm. And lastly, the iridescence of the bubble just looks muddy and gross. The end. So to answer my initial question, is this painting garbage? Because I forgot to answer earlier because I got lost in the sauce. Yes and no. Version 1 is not garbage. Version 2 is garbage. Again, that is not the point. I won't be throwing this painting away. Probably won't hang it either. I'm gonna keep it in the way that I've kept most of my old artwork, so that in a year or 2, or 3 or 4 or 5, I could look back and know that this painting was a small piece of the bridge to creating the better work that I will be creating in the future. God willing. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me through this video. More art videos coming very soon, I promise. I will see you next time. Goodbye.